Okay, call it August 24th, 2017 meeting of the AMATS Policy Committee to order. It is 1:33. We'll do a roll call. Mr. Peterson? Present. Mayor? Yes. Ms. Howe? Here. We have a quorum.
Mr. Chair, I believe Assembly Member is on the phone.
I am. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay, great. So we have a quorum. Great. Public announcement?
Sure. All AMATS meetings are open to the public, and the public is invited to comment. If we have a business item, we'll have presentation by staff or a consultant. Then the committee will be given a chance to discuss the matter, and then after that, the public will be invited to comment.
Thank you. Do we have an approved agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any changes? Okay, are there any objections to adopting the agenda? Okay, the agenda is approved. We have before us the minutes of July 27th, 2017 for approval. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any changes or discussion? Okay, any objections to approving the minutes? Okay, hearing none, the 27th minutes are approved. Moving on to agenda item 5A, the Citizens Advisory Committee, District 3, appointment Steve Horn. Craig, will you do that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the Citizens Advisory Committee is 11 members, and the 6 of those are reflective of each assembly district. So in this case, we have an opening in our West Anchorage seat. The member that was there before, job requirements did not allow her to continue. Mr. Horn had applied for the seat when we originally constituted this committee. I contacted him and he was still interested. And so this went to the TAC and they unanimously recommended his appointment. So it's before you today. He did come to the Technical Advisory Committee meeting, but he is not here today. As you remember, he is a longtime DOT employee, very knowledgeable of the NEPA process. He actually served on the AMATS TAC for some portion of 2003. So he's got some insight already into the process. So it seems like a good fit.
Thanks, Craig. Any questions or comments from the committee? Any comments from the public? Okay. What's the will of the committee?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any objections to the approving the motion? Okay, hearing none, the motion is approved. Okay, item 5B, the resolution regarding the Knicon Crossing project. Craig?
I'll start it off. This comes to us at the request of Assembly Member Constant, who is on the phone, as I noted earlier. This is, at his request, a resolution that talks about removing the Knicon Crossing project from the modeling assumptions and from the MTP in general. This is, as you can see from the whereas, it talks about the removal of funding for the project, etc. And it takes some funding to do the modeling work, and if this project is kind of backburnered, the suggestion was to remove it from the modeling. As originally drafted, it talked about withdrawing support for the project. The Technical Advisory Committee felt that in their role, they can talk about removing projects and removing them from the modeling, but they didn't think it was within their purview to talk about withdrawing support for a project. So they removed that language about withdrawing support. So that's, after they did that, they passed it unanimously at their last meeting 2 weeks ago. So it's before you today.
Thank you. So I've got just a comment on process here. I wasn't here last meeting, but I'm a little bit concerned with a committee member directing you and staff, especially in a time of limited resources, to do work without everybody else knowing about it. I know it was mentioned in the, I saw it in the minutes, but it wasn't, I guess what I request is when a committee member has a request of you and your staff, that they send an email and copy everybody else. And that if that doesn't happen, then you copy that to everybody so everybody's aware of it. If they have any comments or anything, so that we don't have just anybody on the committee directing resources to be used to do whatever it is. Nothing to do with this particular item, but in general, I'd ask that we do that in the future.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, any comments on this?
I think that
You know, this has been an ongoing saga for many years, and federal funding that was originally gotten for this has been, a lot of it's been used just sort of funding a team that's trying to put the project together. And so it would be great if we could funnel the remaining funds that are left to a viable project that we're going to be working on starting sometime fairly soon. I'm not saying this will never be built. I just don't expect it to be built anytime in the near future.
Mr. Chairman.
You've got some feedback.
I'm sorry, hold on. Hold on.
He's at the airport.
Is that any better?
It is. Go ahead.
Okay, so I would just hope to add that while we're setting priorities and using the modeling, it's super important that we focus the resources we have in this limited resource climate on projects that we know are coming in the next 20 years and not be spending our time and resources on developing a project that may or may not arise for the next 40 years. So that was the impetus. And I apologize for if I did circumventing the process. I just asked how it should be, but I'll make sure I put something in writing in the future.
Thank you. Yes,
I
ma'am.
had one question. This is, has DOT ensured that we don't have to have any payback provisions when if this happens?
I have been told that we are not, that's not a concern, but I'm going to run this by the commissioner and our folks who work real closely with FHWA to make sure that we are. But I do not believe that's an issue.
And a follow-up question, did the Matsu communities get notified that this was coming?
We have discussed it with them, if I remember correctly, and Ms. Underwood can chime in here, but well, go ahead and speak. I believe they've removed it from their long-range plan, so this would be consistent with what they're doing, but can you
That's right.
share some
To
insight?
the chair, I did notify the Matsu Borough that this was coming up, and they would like their feedback on it. We have talked in the past, we had a meeting with them on May 10th about other modeling issues for land use allocation to match without the Knickerham crossing. And they were very happy with our being consistent with their plan. That did take the case.
Did Houston, the city of Houston, be contacted?
We were going through the Matsu Borough because they.
The only reason I bring that up is they're the ones that sued us the last time around. And just so we make sure we don't leave ourselves vulnerable to any conflict.
I guess I assumed if it was already taken out of the Matsu Borough plan, and that didn't happen with them, that it probably would not happen with us, but we can do that.
We make, no, Middleton joined us. So can we make sure that we send this, assuming this is the language that we're going to put forward, that this gets sent to the Matsu Borough, Houston, I'm not sure who else, but, sorry?
I can't remember, what are the other little communities up there?
Palmer, Wasilla, and Big Lake, I believe.
Just so we can be sure that we've informed them.
Yes.
Any other comments on this resolution? The language?
We'll have to do the public.
Jamie Kenworthy, one comment. Joint Transportation Legislature last year held a hearing on not having the full match. It could be 9-to-1 for unused federal funds being reallocated from different states. So taking the project out of this plan with the Matsu plan, I think will help the legislature free up these funds to replace other federal funds, find match for state, because we're leaving 9-to-1 dollars on the table. In my estimates, about $25 million that they were short last year for the maximum draw would really help with a small capital budget and in the middle of a recession. So I think this ends the process.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lois Epstein. I know many of you as a former member of the AMATS Technical Advisory Committee, and I'm also a downtown resident and an engineer, and I've spent many years looking at the Connecticut Bridge, in part while I was director of the Alaska Transportation Priorities Project, which was a nonprofit, research-oriented advocacy organization. So I wanted to thank the policy committee for taking up this question. I think it's a very reasonable move, given the fact that the governor has said we're not moving forward, and as we just heard, there's some federal funding that could be used for other projects, which would be probably very much appreciated by those who see different projects built. So this has gone through a long, long process. I went to the technical advisory committee, and they decided to pull out the statement that this was meant to show non-support because they thought it was a political decision rather than a technical decision. I would argue that it truly is a technical and a financial decision. And I'm sorry the technical committee didn't want that exact language, but ultimately it is the policy committee's decision. And I very much appreciate the members thinking about this and making a reasonable choice to move it out of the model. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay. Member Constance, do you have any comments on the revised language?
Yeah, so I don't know what the will of the body is, but I'm just going to put it out there. We have drafted an amendment that restores the initial language that was drafted. That is the political body's decision to make. And so I would like to move the amendment to the resolution if there's support for it.
I think we have to have a motion first for the issue before it can be amended.
Okay.
So what's the will of the committee?
Move to approve.
Second.
So then would I move my amendment?
Yes.
I now move the amendment to restore the original language. I believe you have a printed copy there.
So this is Dave Kemp. So I guess my question here is, in reading the resolution in the revised form without the withdrawing support language, it basically says that we're not going to model, we're not going to include it in the plan. I guess my concern with putting in withdrawing support in language like that is this was a very, I think, divisive project in Alaska and in Anchorage in particular in the valley. I'm not sure what adding this language does to, I hate to use the language, but bridge those gaps. Why would we put this in there? We're already saying that we're not going to model, and without the model, you can't put it into the update. Yes, sir.
So the withdrawing support language, I think, puts us in a neutral posture as opposed to being either supportive or in opposition to the project. And by being in a neutral posture, I think that is one of the ways of saying we're putting aside the sides here, and there are more than one side. And that's why I think the withdrawing support is language we ought to adopt.
Other? Yes, sir.
Well, I would add that from one part of this service area or whatever it's called, there is a lot of opposition to this. So the language taking a position isn't undesirable to the people. In fact, you heard from one of the constituents who lives in my district in the public comment that that language is valuable to the neighbors. And so I would just say, to speak on behalf of my neighbors, there is value there.
If we just deleted that section, does it get us the same place at the end of the day? So it just says, now therefore be it resolved that the AMATS Policy Committee hereby confirms Kicknor Carson be removed, et cetera? Does that get us the same place?
there's,
But you wanted to make that statement.
well, I think actually there's two parts to the amendment here. I mean, if you wanted to divide the question, you could divide the question, but there are two parts. There's the whereas, and whereases tend to be contentious and not really eliminate anything, and the therefores. I mean, I'm never gonna bust a pick over a whereas, but the important thing is the withdrawing support. And like I said, it takes us to a neutral position. I mean, if currently AMATS is in support of a project, then withdrawing support just puts us in a neutral. There could be, an alternative expression could be, the AMATS Policy Committee could express opposition to, and that would be taking another side.
If we were in opposition, we wouldn't be taking it out. Is how I look at it.
You know, from 5,000 miles away, I would just add that I am less interested in the perfection of the thing than the whole thing moving. So if the body wants to go with the policy committee's, the technical committee's version, that's fine. Easy enough. It'll be done.
I guess I feel like either one of these it accomplishes in reality the same thing. And I haven't been involved in this that much to know how passionate are people one side or the other, but I believe when I understand they're pretty passionate on both sides. And so I guess I would just, to me, it's a little bit, and I hate to use this term, but like dancing on a grave, I believe, the withdrawing of support. But maybe that's what the policy committee wants to do. I don't know.
I was here when everybody had quite a crowd on both sides arguing for both. And I would prefer not to have anything that could be inflammatory to one group or the other and try to keep it factual. We don't want it modeled and we want it out without any subjectivity or opinions, because I think as a policy board, we're serving the best thing for Anchorage. And with our federal funds, the best thing for us at this time, this is what this resolution is saying, is we don't want to spend our money doing modeling, and there's no money, so we want it out of our metropolitan transportation plan.
Comment?
Yeah, I guess my previous comment would have been phrased better. Does the original version does this new version do anything the original version did not?
I don't believe it does,
But Cindy, you found that.
I don't think it does.
You prefer the original,
Yes,
less inflammatory.
yes. So you can call a vote on the amendment.
but do we need comments from the public? No?
We're in business.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. This is on the amendment.
Mhm.
Okay. So are there any objections?
Well, you could probably call it individual vote.
Okay. So, Mr. Peterson? So we're voting on
The amendment.
the amendment, which is the revised language.
Right.
Correct.
And so you have all your assembly members. Is Assemblyman Peterson a voting member since, or is?
Yeah, I don't know, is he voting on the
We're
phone?
both voting.
We're voting.
He's the alternate member.
No, he's on the committee, and he's the.
Oh, you're the alternate, that's right,
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Constant,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Well, yes. Mayor,
Yes.
No.
and I'll vote no, so it passes.
So now we
So
can
now we,
vote on the amended motion as a whole.
okay, so, do we need to call roll again? Okay. Mr. Peterson,
No, Mr. Constant.
Constant.
Mr. Constant, sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Now, Mr. Peterson.
No, Mr.
No.
Michael.
No, Mr. Wendell.
I'll vote yes.
Mayor.
Well, I'll let Mr. Peterson vote for me if he wants, but.
I've been trying, but I can't get it past you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I vote yes, okay. All right, okay, the
I'll
motion,
try not to dance.
sorry?
Try not to dance.
Okay, all right, the motion's approved. Okay, agenda item 5C, the 2040 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Craig?
So this is just our standing business item in case we have something related to the MTP that we need to take care of at the last moment. I know Mr. Weddleton had some questions, comments, et cetera, about goals and objectives. So I kind of wanted him, if you wanted to bring it up here, that was a good time. We have some thoughts on what you might want to do here.
So he's at last minute. I was last minute plus about 10, so I was a little bit late. So, and I have to say, I've been going through this the last few days and best I can. So I'm not fully prepared to comment on everything that jumped out to me. But my understanding is that for the policy and procedures, they've been out there, the TAC provisionally approved them, and we will see them as late as early next year to approve. Is that correct?
When you get the draft of the document itself, which.
I'm sorry, I didn't really understand your question.
Sure. When is the policy committee going to see the public review draft for the public hearing?
It will be in 2019, but I was going to give a presentation about where we're going to bring you all along, beginning with the charrette and afterward alternatives analysis. That's so.
What I can understand, it sounds like that the request is being made to bring forward the draft, a draft that is incorporated in the public comments, because the policy committee would like to see them before.
Yes, through the chair, we have copies of Tech Memo 1A and 1B here for you today. Mr. Lyon thought it might be too much paper for you, but they are online. The Technical Advisory Committee approved them as drafts, final drafts, on August 10th. We have to have something that we can move forward with. So we began scoring already right after these were approved. And we can take comments all the way through the public review draft, but we will not prepare another comment response summary. The Tech Memo A, the goals and objectives, have been out for 30-day public review, in addition to receiving comments from the Citizens Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee. And 1B, the screening, was out for 2+ months for public review, including 15 days for the initial screening criteria. So there's been good exposure to them.
Okay, I understand all that is true. And the problem I have is what you're saying is we will get our final blessing of the goals and objectives, which lead to the scoring criteria, after the work is essentially done in 2019. And it defies my logic. I mean, we should see and approve the goals and objectives before you get that far in the process. And I understand that it needs to overlap a little bit given the scheduling, but you had your public comment period, and I read the issue response, and then you're going to have, there's a lot of this says, as far as the measure criteria, develop MTP policy statement. There's a huge amount of that would still really need to be done to see the whole package, goals, objectives, and how you'll measure them. Yes. And I think we should see this and discuss and approve it well before you're done. And and if over here the charrette is in September, so potentially in October we could get a fully completed goals and objectives and measurements document. Is that correct?
Yes, we're following the adopted public involvement plan for this project, which calls for the Technical Advisory Committee to do approvals for the public involvement plan and early technical documents for this project. And that's in keeping with the way we've always done it in the past. And I realize that we might do that differently, but that was our plan. It's in the public involvement plan before you. We're providing those documents to you for information. They were out for public review and comment for 30 days, and you all were sent notices about that and invited to, you were certainly welcome to make comments at that time. The thing is, this project is already behind schedule now. We lost time due to an administrative problem with identifying and appropriating the remaining local match, and that has snowballed now, so we're now like 3 months behind. It was an internal municipal process that took longer than we anticipated. So we do have a deadline for this project of November 19th, 2019. Unlike the land use plan map that, they had the luxury of taking as much time as they needed, we do not have that luxury. So we want to be, we want to accommodate the public and we want to accommodate you all, but we don't have the luxury.
So, just so we're clear, there's been notice on everything that's happened before, public notice?
Absolutely, yes, sir. And so the next document that's coming out is the deficiencies analysis, which is important. It's what we look at, what's future traffic conditions, assuming that we do nothing other than what's programmed. That's critical that we get that done, and it's going before the Technical Advisory Committee in September, and we're going to bring that approved document from the TAC2 as well. It's also on the web page right now. There's on the project web page, if you want a 10-second version of the deficiency analysis, you can go to the project web page where it says about and deficiencies. I know you're busy, you don't have a lot of time. You can look at that there. And then what we're going to be doing is having the charrette. It's been moved now back to November 1st through the 3rd. It was going to be in September. We are going to bring to you the results of the charrette, including concepts, projects that are being considered, and ideas. And we want to make absolutely certain that we don't do one bit of modeling before we get your feedback. And so we are going to be coming to you and asking you for your feedback, whether it be through a resolution or a motion or whatever, at your December meeting, to know that we're going in the right direction with this, with the concepts, with the draft scenarios. Then we'll put all of that out for public review and comment for 30 days to make sure, does it resonate with the public? Are we going in the right direction? Then there will be a technical document documenting all of that, and then we'll start in on modeling.
I think we're drifting. Can I address some of that? Thank you. I think we drifted a little bit. I did read everything. I read everything online, and I've read all these documents.
Yes.
And I understand the process, and I do understand that it's been out for public review, and I do understand that I could have commented at that time. But I don't think that is a good way for me to spend my time, and probably the rest of us, because I like to see it go through the public process, your comment and response, your edits, and when you're at that point, then for me and the rest of us to review it after the public has had a chance. So we would be near the end of that, not at the early stages.
So you would like to amend the public involvement plan that we have?
I would like to have this body approve the goals, policies, and the measurements before you get so deep into the process that anything we would recommend changing is irrelevant. And if you're worried about a delay, the delay comes in 2019 when you bring us a document you consider pretty darn good and final because it meets your goals and procedures and measurements, and we go, no, you missed 5 key things that need to be in here. Then you have a serious delay. You avoid your delay by getting the stuff to us earlier. And I gotta say, when last time you spoke, you made a little presentation here and you said, we'll do things different this time, and I was very glad to hear that. We don't want to do things the same as we did before. And now, you also said in December you will bring something to us. Would it include a full version? Because you have a lot of gaps and blanks still in this. Will we have a full version?
So can I ask a question?
November?
I believe, if I'm understanding how this works correctly, is that this policy committee approved the process, is that correct? That
No,
we're
the
using
technical
now?
advisory committee did, in keeping with what we've done, the way we've done it in the past.
Right.
And I believe Ms. Heil can affirm that.
There were other developments of plans where there were periods that things came up to the policy committee for decisions that are not being done this time around.
I went through all the meeting minutes from the 2035 NTP. They do come, we will come
There's
to
a
you.
difference between what we're doing now and what we did then and what we did the previous one. Remember, we did an interim update, which is the policy committee made a decision at the beginning of the interim update, because it was an interim and we were running out of time, that everything, a lot of the plan would be kept intact and wouldn't be changed. But we did that with the knowledge that when we did the full update, we would be looking at pretty much everything. So you kind of have to look back what we did at the beginning. We did the initial development of the full plan, which was the combination of the muni and the Eagle River. That was the beginning of the great big one, and there were definite areas along the path that the policy committee made decisions, that they had to have decision points, okay? Those decision points were taken out specifically in the last one because it was an update. This is a new one, and there are decision points that are not there that were in the development of the last big one.
So can I suggest here, because I'm having a little bit of a hard time following the whole process just by listening to your description and your questions on that. Can I suggest that you put together, I'm assuming we already have this somewhere, a flow chart that shows the different processes when it comes back to the policy committee, get it out to all the members here so that we can look at it and then make comments on it so that we're all sitting here looking at the same thing and understanding exactly how this, and where people have concerns about.
It is in the public involvement plan. Through the chair, the previous process I was talking about was not the interim 2035, but in fact the 2035 MTP that we did. That was the last major update. That was a very abbreviated process also. They did not bring the goals and objectives to the public in that time. They did not bring the initial, any of the screening criteria to the public. None of the steps that we have already done and during this time were done at that time. And they were not done for the 2025 LRTP either. We had the benefit of a 40-person roundtable that some people in this room attended. But the steps that we've been taking, we've already gone beyond what they did. We have not put out these early documents for public review and comment. If you will want to have us bring all of these back to you for Tech Memo 1A, Tech Memo 1B, which are the two documents, please tell us when you would like to do that and when we can expect your final word on them, because we need to move forward. We are getting, FHWA was at the Technical Advisory Committee, and I told them we were already behind schedule, and Mr. Lowry came up to me afterwards and he said, "You are going to make every effort you can to keep this on schedule, correct?" And I said, yes. If we miss our deadline, there are repercussions. We might have to, we will not be able to start any new projects, and we will not be able to start any new phases and any new projects. And we have already gone beyond what the public involvement plan said we would do. We were not going to take these early documents to the public, but we did, because people wanted to see them and we thought that was the right thing to do. So some of these documents have been out for 2.5 months. 1B, the initial screening criteria, were out for public review and comments for 2.5 months. That's very generous. That is very generous. And we want to make sure that we capture your feedback, but we need to know that we are going to have that in a reasonable amount of time. And I guess we would like you to make a decision, please, today if possible, what you want to do with Tech Memo 1A and 1B, because we have for you the versions here today that the TAC approved. And we need to know where we need to be scoring projects. We can't do any planning for the charrette. We certainly can't do any modeling if we can't start using these criteria, which we've already started using. And we have to start all over again if they change. So I'm just putting that out there. And I apologize if there is a misunderstanding about we did provide a schedule to the body in the very beginning, I think in February, I believe. Probably should have been a little bit clearer about where your role would be, where we really need your help. And I wanted to tell you too, these goals and objectives went through a rigorous review for consistency with the comprehensive plan for the 2025 long-range transportation plan. Our task this time was not to do that all over again, but to do a quick check to make sure if we're still consistent, then to make sure that they're consistent with federal factors, federal planning factors, and federal national goals, and to make sure that there's anything in the current land use plan update that we might want to change for. This was not meant to be, and Ms. Heil.
I knew this was going to happen. That's why we put it in the resolution to begin with.
Ms. Heil asked us not have this be a long, protracted process. The 2025 LRTP was held up because of an agonizing appraisal over the goals and objectives for months. We had to add money to the project twice to make up for budget and contract spent that was not planned for. And
I mean, we had a resolution at the beginning of this whole process that the goals and objectives would be just cursory reviewed.
And you have a copy of that for everybody?
A complete redo.
Can I ask a practical question? How many public comments have you received?
for Tech Memo 1A, we had 85 comments from three citizens,
So 3 people waited.
plus a community, and a community council and Citizens Coalition,
Okay.
Anchorage Citizen Coalition, and a few staff. Same thing for Tech Memo 1. We got 95 comments from 6 citizens, Rabbit Creek Community Council, and Anchorage Citizens Coalition. I mean, I need to make sure that everybody has a copy of this resolution that the policy committee passed, guiding us on what we were supposed to do. And I'm sorry that we didn't do this again for the benefit of people who were not here before. So. On the back page, it says, the first whereas the goals and objectives of the adopted 2035 MTP and interim 2035 MTP for the Anchorage Bowl and Chugiak Eagle River are based on community values expressed through the latest Anchorage 2020 comp plan for the Bowl and Chugiak Eagle River. MTP goals will be reviewed and confirmed as still relevant and consistent with adopted land use plans and would be changed as appropriate following review of the current Anchorage land use plan. So we also had to make sure that they were consistent with national goals and with national planning factors. So this effort was not meant to be a protracted process. It was meant to be very targeted. And I believe Ms. Heil can back me up on that because she was the one actually who wanted this language in there, and she wanted to make it more controlled.
Yeah, I did. Well, it's not control, it was more boundaries were set because
Yes.
you can spend, it's never ending. You can work on goals and objectives till forever. And you'll have differences of opinion, you'll wordsmith it to death, but where the reality, where you need to spend your time and your money is further on down. I mean, goals are supposed to be a boundary, and if you're not careful, they become boundless. I mean, they're just a sink.
So I
It's a
guess
sinkhole.
the two takeaways for me here is we do have a public process that's fairly rigorous and is out there. And we also do not want to jeopardize our federal funding and our ability to use that. And if we extend this out too far, we're going to be jeopardizing that, is what I'm hearing.
Right, but on the other hand, you have, fair enough, members of the policy committee wishing that they had a little bit more active role and at some point had opportunities to approve, bless, or whatever portions as they go. I don't think Mr. Wendell is comfortable with it just going through the TAC with just informationals and not having an opportunity at certain points to check in and give the stamp of approval as it's moving on. So, and that's how I see where the conflict is that there's a process, there's a schedule, it's working, but there's not a clear understanding of exactly when the PC comes in and what their roles are with regard to formal approvals.
And I do think that's fair, absolutely. So I would just like,
I just want to be clear,
Yes.
ultimately, this is approved by the assembly, is that correct?
No,
there
policy
are two
committee.
tracks. There are two tracks. There's a federal and there's a local. So for the federal side, we don't need the assembly and the planning and zoning. We have to get in order to do, there's an air quality conformity that must be approved by the Federal Highway Administration by the end of 2019. Then there's another track that goes through the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Assembly, and it gets adopted as part of the comprehensive plan. So this plan serves a dual role.
So this component goes ultimately through the assembly.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the public review draft, the public hearing draft will.
So could I suggest something here? If there's a concern about policy committee not being able to review, but there's also a concern about lengthening out the process. Since you brought this up, if you could suggest where in this process you would like to be able to have this body review this, and then provide, here's how much time, and make sure that we're able to not impact your schedule to get back with comments. Is that a reasonable, I mean, we can go around on this one all night
Yes.
long, I think.
May I suggest that if it's not too onerous, is to go ahead and do what you need to do for Tech Memo 1A and 1B, but give us the latitude to continue doing our project scoring with the initial screening criteria that have been through a lot of review and comment, and they have been approved by the Technical Advisory Committee. And then there's one more document that's going to be coming in September to the Technical Advisory Committee. That's the deficiencies analysis. We had a work session that I believe the Policy Committee was invited to. If you like, we can take October to ask you to approve the deficiencies analysis, but we need that document in order to be able to move forward with the charrette. That means if we do that, if we add another month of approval, that means we won't have the charrette in November.
The thing about it is that if you want to keep on schedule, then you have more meetings. You don't wait once a month to have a meeting with this group. I mean, that's the thing, you get to have a commitment from the people here. If they're really interested, then you start having more than 1 month meeting a month. You advertise them and you get it done, because you have to meet the schedule. We don't meet once a month. If you want to get a lot involved, stay on your schedule. I mean, that's how I look at it. You just can't.
Can I chime in, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
So we've been on this long and roundabout discussion, and I've heard a number of times that this is all reviewed by the Technical Advisory Committee. But by their own admission, the Technical Advisory Committee doesn't take into consideration the impacts of policy related to how these projects impact neighborhoods and people. And so I'm with Mr. Weddleton that having a clear line forward to the Assembly for the critical junctures, the kind of critical marks, is an important part of the process, because by their own admission, and all due respect to them, the Technical Advisory Committee is to serve one function, and that's the technical aspects of the project.
Mr. Wendell.
Thanks, Chris. I hear a lot of panic. At this point, having gone through it very carefully, these are my comments. It's not going to slow you down more than a couple hours at the most, okay? So it's not a lot. So I'm not here to slow down the process or cause problems for you. There are some issues and there are some little gaps. I think things that are missed, they're not unreasonable, that I would like to add, and I'm sure there's others. So I think you're really panicking over something that you shouldn't. I'm ready, probably tomorrow, to take the work I did the last couple of days and have it ready and send it to you. But I've waited because I wanted to see these amendments and also see your responses to the public comments, which I've done. I've gone through it. You know, that just came out, right?
Thank you. It's
So
been
I'm right
out for a
on
week.
it.
It's been
Okay, well,
posted.
here we are, so a week. And I had a little distraction during that week.
I would not call that a distraction. I would
But,
let it get back to the source.
That's okay. Anyway, so we're not talking a big delay. I mean, I'll be ready tomorrow if you want to make it the September meeting to look at this. But, and you refer to the public involvement plan, which I've read carefully because I was looking to find out where we have taken ourselves out of the process in that. And all I see is at the very beginning and throughout, we have the final say on everything. That's our job. We have a burden here, responsibility, a burden, everything. So, and that's in that policy, public involvement plan is we are the final deciders on everything. So you can't cut us out.
Well, I mean,
Whatever you've done before, you can't cut us out. That's our job.
these are early technical documents that in the past never went beyond the Technical Advisory Committee. So we're forging new territory here, and that's a good thing. We can do that. I just want everybody to understand that if we do that, there is a consequence.
Well, I agree, there is a consequences. You will know sooner what guidance this body will give you rather than finding out in 2019, oops, you missed a big piece.
Yes, if
The
you
sooner
would
you hear, the
please,
better.
can you all then please give us a resolution or an action or something at your September meeting?
I'm good with that. Chris, you good with that?
Unless you're prepared to do it today, which would be really helpful.
Tomorrow would be better.
Okay. And that, will that be for both Tech Memo 1A and 1B?
That's good for me, I don't know about anyone else.
So we'll expect to have something from you on Tech Memo 1A and 1B at your next meeting, and then that will, but I really would like to ask your permission to continue scoring projects
Sure.
with the initial screening criteria.
I will go you one better. 1A, 1B, and the deficiencies I'll have comments on.
Okay, let's not, okay. But we need the body. It puts us in a difficult situation, but getting things individually from individual members. So if you as a body could please take action on this, that would really help us a lot.
So what I'm hearing you saying is you need approval for 1A and 1B by September.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't slow down what you're doing. You can continue if we.
Well,
throw
so
some stuff
the
in
practice in the
September.
past has been, the TAC has done the heavy lifting, and this is at the direction of the policy committee. You look at the technical aspects and, crunch all that stuff, and then bring it back to us, and then we can chew on it and, do our work. And the desire is that, it starts off with this resolution that says, here are the assumptions that go into this. What Ms. Underwood is asking is that if we can get something from this policy committee next month saying, we agree to what you have stipulated in Tech Memo 1A and 1B and go forward. I mean, if things changed radically in the goals and objectives and the screening criteria, then all the work we've done with using those screening criteria to score hundreds of projects, if the criteria changes, we'd have to do that again. And obviously, we would do that if that's what the policy committee directed, but we'd really rather not. That's a lot of time and effort. So if it doesn't change that much and those can stay about the same, then we're good with what we have. But we don't want to, I don't want to score another 100 projects if they're going to change. I will, but I don't want to.
Well, it's the initial screening. Initial
It
screening
is, it
is
is.
very,
Yeah.
very light. So,
Right.
so put on the agenda in September, A, B,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and the deficiencies, and everybody better do their homework for the week before, so they can be approved. I mean, that's what it sounds like. They want approval. They don't want discussions, they don't want comments, they want an approval.
Okay. So to get there, well, maybe we email you and you consolidate stuff, or or maybe we have 2 meetings in September. I mean, what works best to make that happen?
I think if you send us your comments, we can look at them if we need to. I mean, we can run it by the TAC first, and then at your next meeting, we'll have stuff posted a week prior to show here's what any changes might have been, and then approve it
So
at your September
I
meeting.
would suggest that if there's significant changes, then we probably need to schedule another meeting to deal with those.
What do you consider significant?
Well, I guess I would leave that up to you two. whether
We'll
or not-
look at them, and if
I mean,
they're,
we're
if
gonna-
they're significant, then we'll either do a meeting or a work session or something that, so we have significant or ample time to cogitate over them before we take them to you at your regular September meeting.
So just to summarize here, we're going to look at 1A, 1B, and the deficiencies as a group and send you our comments. And then if they're significant, then we will look at scheduling another meeting so that we can hash those out. If they're not, then we will go and hopefully pass 1A, 1B in our September meeting.
Yes.
Is that a good summary for everybody?
That would be great.
It might, I think as a time, I mean, it might be easier for us to email to Craig, he can consolidate instead of
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, no,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying, the
Okay.
first
That's what I meant.
the first
Right.
blushes, you get it all to them. They'll only do a second meeting if there's something that's really big, and if not, we'll see everything at the September meeting.
So maybe we should have it to you a week before the TAC meets, if you want to send it to the TAC. That makes
well,
sense?
The timing is really important. It does take time for us to put together a comment response summary and provide thoughtful responses. So
By the end of the week, you should get any comments if you have.
that was
Except for the deficiencies.
a good part. And we'll also, Mr. Lyon will send you links to these documents also. And do you want to see the comment responses electronically? We have them here for you, but it's a lot of paper. I don't know what you, if you want to see those too, we can send you the links to those to see what other people have said about them.
Okay, Assemblymember Constant, did you follow all this? Are you still on?
We're not skipping on topics.
He boarded.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I would ask you if there's any action items here, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think we've covered those. Yeah, okay. All right, so any other action items on this? Any other comments on this? Okay. Agenda item 6A, 2040 Metropolitan Transportation Plan.
That was what we did.
Do we
have anything else?
Do we have anything else on that one?
I want to thank you all for the discussion right now. You all will, it's great that you're doing this because you actually need to be better prepared for the next steps. And the next steps are going to be looking at the big picture, the concepts that we're going to be going with, the scenarios, the different mixes of projects and solutions. And you will have had a baptism by fire of all this stuff, and I think you'll be better prepared actually to provide guidance to us on that. The next thing is the charrette in November. Hopefully we can stay on schedule with that. I'll have to make sure. Then, as I said, we'll be bringing back to you for your input, and as I understand now, you also would like to approve it, right? The concepts, so that we can move forward before we do any modeling. Then we'll be modeling different scenarios, and then we will bring back to you then a technical memorandum that documents the approved process, and then you will definitely get approval of the preferred alternative, and definitely get approval of the public review draft. And we have a different makeup of the policy committee this time than we've ever had before, and we have a different citizens advisory committee than we've ever had before. And it's been a learning process for all of us, but I'd rather have more interest and more involvement if you can handle it. You're all very busy, but I mean, if you can do this, I think it's going to make it a better product.
Thanks. It's all new because Chris is on here now.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Totally
No, it's you, John.
Oh, you're on.
Okay. So,
Chris is on.
so Assemblymember Constant, do you have any comments, or were you able to listen in on this?
Yeah, I've been listening to it all. I just want to say thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. I believe we're now to comments from the committee, or
I used up my quota.
You did.
any comments from the public? Okay, I have one just a reminder for folks who may be new to the committee. We need to be careful about the sunshine law, where if we have more than two of us discussing something that has to do with the committee, we're in violation. So we just need to be careful when we're having discussions that relate to what we do here. We need to have them when we're here. So just a reminder to everybody. Somebody mentioned that to me the other day, and it's something that we all need to be aware of. So, any
Just a
comments?
point of order on that. Is it 2 or 3?
It's a
We have 3
quorum.
at the assembly, so it's a quorum's not 2 though.
3, so it's more than 2, you said.
Oh, 3's a quorum?
3's a quorum for the
Oh, I got
policy
you.
committee.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, thank you all. The meeting is adjourned. It is 2:07.
We finished early.